Hello, welcome back to the video, or channel, or Spotify, or wherever you're watching. This video on weight manipulation or weight management, whatever you want to call it. I have in my head how I want to release videos, or the direction it goes, so this seems like the next best way of the next point to talk about. Talk about generalisation, it's hard to do in that, individualisation and keeping happy while you diet and stuff, but this seems like the next best step to take. I've got it all in my head. It's like a mind map, but over the next 4 videos, we're going to talk about what you can do with your weight. What you can do with your weight is pretty straightforward, but it's just things to think about if you're trying to change your weight in any way possible. So again, weight manipulation or management. Before we start, if you could like and subscribe, that'd be brilliant. Because I know people are watching. So when it comes to weight manipulation, by the way, just to let you know as well, when I'm talking about this kind of stuff, I might come across patronising. I don't mean it. Or you might think that I'm speaking like an idiot. I don't mean it. I try and explain these slightly complex things you've maybe not heard of and make it like I'm speaking to children, because apparently that's the best way of explaining things. Not that I spend much time with children and like large amounts of children anyway. My kid doesn't listen to me, so she doesn't count. So if I come across patronising, I apologise. My fiance says that I come across patronising all the time, but maybe I do just with her. But anyway, weight manipulation. There is only 3 things you can do with your weight. You can gain it, maintain it, or lose it. When you gain it, this goes back to the sort of videos I've created about calories and stuff, but when you gain it, all you're basically doing is you are eating more than what you're burning. And you hear people call it a surplus, or maybe like the gym or like training settings, like they call it a bulk, or gaintaining, or shit like that, but you're basically just increasing your calories more than what you expend. The next one is a deficit, which is you are burning more calories than what you're bringing in, so you call that a diet or a cut. And then the other one is maintaining, so you're basically energy in versus energy out, is you're maintaining your weight. These little green boxes, we'll get into it later, but there's a bit more complex. It's not just a case of energy in versus energy out. There's a bit more complexity within those boxes, but we'll get to that stuff later on. So that's it in a nutshell. The third law of thermodynamics applies to when you gain or lose weight. So what that basically means is when you intake energy, it doesn't just disappear, or it doesn't. You can't just destroy it. It needs to do something. So when you eat energy, you either burn it or you store it. I've done this video about 3 times, by the way, if it seems rehearsed, because I've fucked up a few times, but that's what it means in a nutshell. So what that then ties in with is your calories in, calories out. Calories in, calories out, or energy in versus energy out, is all that matters when it comes to losing weight or gaining weight, and that then applies to the thermodynamic stuff. These few points here, sorry, because we kind of jumped ahead, are the few points I want to raise about the whole weight manipulation kind of stuff. So we'll go through these now anyway. I've put eat less, move more in here, but that kind of goes into we'll talk about that a little bit more on the deficit. But my point I was trying to make here is it's very simple on paper. This looks very simple, and it is very simple when you put it on a bit of paper. But when it comes to real life, it's not as simple as this, because people stick into a diet. It's quite difficult these days with temptations and stress, and your work and prices, food, and all that sort of shit comes into effect when you're trying to create one of these 3 things. So what I really mean there is it's not as simple to do it on paper. And the other thing that I want to talk about, and I'll probably put in a video by itself, is these things are dynamic. And what dynamic means is, for example, if you try to lose 12 kilos or 10 kilos in 12 weeks, and you were given 1,800 calories, and you walked out the room and was like, right, I'll see you when I'm 10 kilos lighter. That's unlikely to happen, because there's got to be certain things that's going to stop that happening. If you lose 10 kilos, you've got to be lighter, so you've got to be burning less energy as you walk. You'll be carrying less weight as you exercise. You might start being tempted with other bits of food, so your 1,800 calories then turns into 2,000 calories without you realising. You become but you become more tired because you've been exercising more, so you lie down more. All that kind of stuff plays into that. So it's just worth a little touch point. When it comes to weight manipulation, there's a lot of good examples, or I think it's a metaphor about losing weight is kind of like saving money.
If you're looking to save money, you would then start monitoring it. You would check what your incomings versus your outgoings. You'd monitor that on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, and you'd then hopefully start losing money or have a target that you then hit. Weight manipulation is exactly the same. More so on a deficit, but it also counts on a surplus as well because you can gain weight too quickly. That's more on the sort of training side of it, but again, we'll get into these individually later on. But it's a very good example that if you want to start losing weight and you want to do it in a manner that's sustainable and a way that helps you keep it off longer term, it's worth starting to monitor it a bit more. Like I said, if you want to save money, why wouldn't you then? If you want to save money with those sort of what do you call it, like those methods by monitoring things, why wouldn't you do the same with your weight? That probably leads on to the next bit, and I think the reason why is people make up excuses not to weigh themselves, which sounds quite harsh, but if you really want to lose weight, like really fucking want to lose weight, and you said, I do want to weigh myself, then I'd be like, do you really want to lose weight then? And weighing yourself is not the only metric that you can use to lose weight, but it's a very good indicator. It's probably one of the best indicators out of the lot. You can lose weight without it, just like you can save money without monitoring your incomes versus outgoings, but you put yourself in a lot better fucking position weighing yourself than you would before, than if you didn't, sorry. And moving on to that slightly is, at the end of the day, I'm going to say we collectively, but you individually have a responsibility on yourself to look. If you're moaning about being overweight but you're doing fuck all about it, that's kind of your fault. In a sense, there's obviously caveats to that, and that sounds really harsh, but basically, as a whole, we're overeating like fuck and we're not moving enough. So there's a responsibility at the end of it. There's responsibility for every individual out there to look after themselves better, and also everybody's responsible for the last 3 feet of where it goes from the food goes from your plate to your mouth. Everybody's responsible for that, every individual person. So if you hate weighing, it's technically your responsibility to, I'm not going to say get over that, but you can't basically say you're overweight and then do fuck all about it. That really pisses me off, but kind of like what do you call it, like a home truth, maybe? But again, there's caveats to that, but the majority of people eat far too much and do fuck all. They just sit and watch Netflix. And then they say they don't have any time to exercise. Anyway, last point, big thing about weight is everything you do on a daily basis masks will mask your weight. So if you stand on the scales and you're 80 kilos, you could step off that. So for example, so if I stood on the scales and it was 80 kilos, I could go to the kitchen, drink a litre of water, come back and it would be 81 kilos. Or if I go to the toilet, if I had 80 kilos, then I go to the toilet and I do a massive shit, and I was going to say come back like 79.5 kilos. But if I came back you'd lose probably a couple of 100 grams. You take a massive piss, your weight would then change. That's what my point is. If you had more fibre the night before, if you had more salt, if you had more water, if you had more carbs, if you were on your period, if it was hot outside, all this sort of shit affects the weight, affects the number on the scales. So we'll get on to how to sort of avoid that. But just because the scales are kind of volatile, kind of like the whole equation, shouldn't detract you from being responsible to do it. Because like I said, the thing about that as well is, with the money and the weight thing, like the whole responsibility behind it is, you never look in your bank and be like, oh my God, who the fuck has been spending my money? It's you who's been spending it. Nobody else gets access into nobody should have access into your account. So you then start taking responsibility for all the money that you start spending. So you then should start taking responsibility for the food that you eat. That's just my opinion. Anyway, to finish off on the tips, I'm going at the very end of these videos, I'm going to try and give you some helpful tips, and hopefully then they start building up, so then you can maybe start making a bigger difference. To avoid this masking and for you to try and get a handle and get a bit more responsibility, if you start weighing yourself 3 or 4 times a week, you would then start achieving an average of your weight, and then you would compare that on a weekly basis. And if it's going down and you want to lose weight, great. If you're trying to gain weight and it's going up, great. If you're maintaining by, let's say, 500 grams either side of your weight, you'd be doing pretty well. So for example, if 80 kilos, if you were between 80.5 kilos and 79.5 kilos, you'd be doing a pretty good job. If you think you're going to stand on that scale and be like, I will be 80 kilos every day from now on, you're a fucking idiot. That kind of goes on to that little buffer zone actually. But if you are a person who's trying to maintain weight, create yourself a little buffer zone and
Stick to that rather than thinking, I better be 80 kilos today or I'm going to lose my shit. Another thing here is to trust the process. You technically don't know if you're in a deficit or a surplus every day. There's obviously, like if you're eating a fuckload of food or you're eating really little unfortunately don't exist, so you need to trust the process. If you were doing something like this, I'd leave it 2. If you think you were stalling your weight, I'd maybe leave it 2, maybe 4 weeks before you change it up, because you don't want to change it too quickly and then like making it then difficult for yourself 2 or 3 weeks down the line. The other thing as well is that I think I maybe mentioned it here, but when you start weighing, or if you start weighing yourself, don't let that number define you. Again, I don't know if I mentioned it, but if you see a number there that you don't like, use it as fuel. Just say, I'm not seeing that fucking number again. And then use that as fuel to like avoid the chocolate or go out for a walk or something like that. Like to avoid jumping on the scales because you're worried about a little digital number that'll define you makes no sense to me. And people who weigh themselves, it's actually been proven that people who weigh themselves like manage their weight a lot better. That kind of goes with the money thing as well. I think we're done there. I'll see you in the next video about being in a calorie deficit.